president of the National Coloured Congress. I'm happy to have him on air, but very saddened by the subject matter that we're covering this morning. Very worrisome indeed. And let's hear what the National Coloured Congress is going to be doing about the situation. We hear that old age homes are on auction in the Western Cape. What on earth is going on? Why is this happening? And do we have the power to stop this? Assalamu alaikum to you, Fadiel Adams. Welcome to the program. Nice to have you on air this morning.
Alaikum salam. And how are you people doing?
With your du'as, alhamdulillah. But very, very upset by hearing what we're going to be talking about. Goodness me, what's going on?
Man, it is depressing, eh? We're faced with a government that literally doesn't care. It doesn't care about poor people and it doesn't care about the aged. I've never heard of any administration, no matter how corrupt who is in this country, that auctions an old age home, literally putting old people out in the street. Now, it's not as if the city of Cape Town needs the money. They're sitting on like 11 billion rand in reserves, closer to 20, but anyway, that's reserves, that's our own money. Remember that this is also the government that switches off people's water, old people's water, when they can't afford to pay, and then claims a victory by offering them an indigent grant after they suffered for weeks and months. It's the Democratic Alliance at its finest. They do this out of spite. They do this because they can. If you ask what we're about to do, our chairperson, Fadiel Adams, who is an admitted attorney with his own practice, is this morning issuing instruction to an advocate to stop this thing on an urgent basis. Can we do anything? As the people of this country, there's nothing that we can't do. We can make government bow to our will. We're just too placid, we're too accepting, and we complain too well. There's just not enough action.
Okay, so Fadiel, how come this situation, this particular case, has been allowed to reach this stage? Off air, you told me that an old age home is going on auction this morning. You mentioned a suburb in the Western Cape, and I think it's Reiterwacht, and I'm trying to understand, and hats off to you guys for making a big, raising the issue and trying to do everything you possibly can to stop this from going ahead. But how come it's reached this point already?
Well, I'm gonna start it off like this and tell you the honest truth is we're not the ones who raised the issue. Our attention was brought. This was brought to our attention by the activists on the ground. We actually only got involved as of this week because we didn't know the full facts. You can't just jump in with both feet. Sometimes you end up drowning. So we had to do a little bit of research and find out what was going on here. And ultimately, the DA they're going to propose this as another cost-cutting measure. They're going to find some liberal way of justifying it, but there is none. And we've decided that we're not going to allow this.
How many people are affected, and what is the excuse being given for the closure of this old age home?
I can't tell you exactly how many people are being affected without lying, so I'm going to skip that question. But the reasons given are cost cutting. It's all about cost cutting. You see, it's all about finances to these people. Now, let me just give you a little bit of backstory here. 2 years ago, when the city of Cape Town proposed an increase for our councillors of 4,800 rand per councillor, the NCC was the only party in that chambers that protested against it, that voted no, don't give us as councillors the increase. Pass it on to the poor, pass it on to the elderly. The Democratic Alliance and all the parties in council, and when I say I mean all of them, they voted for the increase. Now, how do you justify giving councillors earning 60,000 rand a month plus with perks an increase and doing this to the aged? How does any of this make any sense?
Okay, I'm trying to also understand, of all of the resources that belongs to the city of Cape Town or the Western Cape, why would they pick on an old age home?
They don't pick on an old age home.
Is that a soft target?
They don't pick on an old age home. They pick on anyone that's vulnerable. Fruit sellers, fishermen, the elderly, the poor, uneducated people, people that can't afford school fees. They pick on everyone. They pick on backyarders. These people don't care. Please understand that it's not one grouping being targeted here. Any way the Democratic Alliance can squeeze poor people for money, they do it. You must understand that this is nothing more than a bunch of Zionists in liberal suits, speaking proper English, robbing poor people blindly.
We're hearing about the divide in the Western Cape. I mean, I'm absolutely shocked to see uh, prices of property on the Atlantic seaboard, Camps Bay, and all of those areas. And we're also hearing about the service delivery for those areas. And on the other hand, when you go to the Cape Flats and to all of the townships, Guguletu, etc., um, the, the living conditions are abhorrent, disgusting. There's no service delivery. So what's going to happen? Let's hope people wake up and make elections are around the corner. Let's hope they wake up and, vote for the correct party to come in, the party that's going to look after their interests. However, people listening to this interview this morning might just accuse you of electioneering.
Look, it's silly season and people do anything for votes. But anybody accusing us of electioneering must look at our track record for the last 6 years. This is what we've done every day for the last 6 years. Other parties call it campaigning. We call this work. Other parties do it out of necessity. We do it out of love. We are the only party with a self-funded office right here in the heart of Mitchell's Plain, our own money. And that office is used to tend to people's issues, whether it's water, whether it's education, whether it's GBV. That's where our hearts are. This is not campaigning for us. We will do this 3 days after the election while everyone else is on holiday. That's what we do. And from a point of view of the Atlantic seaboard and the prices there, they've taken down the whites only signs, and now they keep us out economically. And if you compare the level of service in those areas, dirt bins get cleaned twice, get collected twice, 2 or 3 times a week for a family of 2. Here on the Cape Flats where we suffer, we don't live, we suffer. A family of 15 to 20 will only get their refuse collected once a week. They think nothing of poor people. They think nothing of people of color. And it's time for people of color to open up their eyes to this and say, no, we deserve better.
Have you tried engaging directly with the DA on this issue? The issue, look, it's a much wider issue than just the auctioning off of old age homes. That's probably a start. Have you tried engaging them on this and other issues?
Ma'am, Mandela tried to engage the National Party for 27 years from a prison cell. These people won't listen until they have no choice left. Now we will fight them until they have no choice left, or we will remove the choice from them altogether. There's no point in engaging with these people. You can uncover 600 million rands worth of fraud in the city of Cape Town, and then the mayor will stand up in council and say that there is no fraud, but the money disappeared. It's that is what you're negotiating with. You're negotiating with the beneficiaries of an apartheid system that have no shame about it. Using the old age home as an issue. They're selling everything they can. Land, rights, anything is being sold. And you know what the saddest part of all of this is? They're closing an old age home, but there's a golf course in Observatory. Listen carefully. There's a golf course in Observatory, which I think is something like 60 hectares. You know what rent they pay to the city of Cape Town a month? A year? 3,000 rand a year. Do you know that there are people living in city rental complexes paying 3,000 rand for 50 or 60 square meter flats? These people are charging the rich to play a rich man's sport. Rich people who can afford to pay whatever the rate is, they're charging the entire golf club 3,000 rand a month.
Yeah, that's the irony of it all, is it not? How confident are you that the attorney that is being tasked to take this matter to court, or possibly they're not taking the matter, I presume it's going to be an interdict?
Yes,
to stop
we're going to interdict the process.
Are you quite confident that you'd be able to be successful with the interdict?
Look, we must also remember that certain judges in this country are just biased, man. So we will certainly do our best. I'm quietly confident that we can do something, at least get a stay of execution, so some proper planning can go in here, and these people may be relocated, those that really have nowhere to go, because I can tell you now, the city will put them on the streets.
Okay, that's a start, preventing the old age from closing. What more do you think is going to unfold post this? So let's hope that you guys are successful.
I mean,
What do you believe? What's going to be their next step?
their next step is to do what they've always done. Their next step is to do what they've always done. You know what's going to happen before this election? People like Marius Fransman, like myself, like Auntie Pat, we will be smeared. Our names will be dragged through mud. Our families will be traumatized. And then the election will happen and then we'll see. But what these people must understand is that they've never faced an animal like this. We are the only party in this country that has the Democratic Alliance in court for fraud. Now, I say to you again, democracy in this country is about 28 years old. It's now an adult. When a 3-year-old party, led by a man with no political experience, can lock up the most professional thieves in the country, I want to know from the other political parties who claim to represent the poor people, what have you been doing? Because you've been watching them for so long and done absolutely nothing. This is their biggest fear. They need to keep me out. They need to keep the NCC out. Because when the NCC comes in, I can tell you now, the big wigs in the Democratic Alliance should start practicing how they look in orange, because prison is where they're going.
Fadiel, this discussion that you and I are having now is not only about the old age home closing down. There's a much, much bigger picture here, a huge picture. It's about the poorest of the poor. It's about the marginalized community in the Western Cape. It's about the colored vote. The coloreds have been promised a lot by the DA. How are you going to counteract all of that? Are they going to believe you when you give them all of this information going forward?
You must understand the depths of Stockholm syndrome in the colored community. They are so attached to the master, it's going to take a while to uneducate them, because they've been educated that this is how it should be. The closure of the old age home doesn't surprise us. These people close hospitals where we live. They close schools where we live. They close businesses where we live. They confiscate people's goods while they're just trying to make a living where we live. This is why they must go. We have no more time for the day. We don't have 5 more years of suffering. We can't do it. The Democratic Alliance must go.
What are you promising the colored people of the Western Cape?
Fairness. True equality. An opportunity to succeed because of your God-given talent, or fail because of your own laziness, not because of the color of your skin. That's all we're offering. Nothing more. I'm not promising anyone pie in the sky, tenders, anything. I'm saying that what is just will prevail. That will be our guide at all times.
Are you hopeful that you're going to get a lot of votes come the elections? Have you been engaging? Have you been engaging with the people on the ground? And that's very important, is it not?
We engage with the people on the ground all the time. That's what we do. I don't have time to sit with the mayor and the premier, sip coffee, smile for the cameras. That's not where we're at. We work with our people. We speak for the streets. The streets speak for us. We aren't even hopeful. We are confident that we're going to get enough to make an impact. And remember, this is our first election. This is our first national election. Most parties flop at the first attempt. And that's with loads of money. We're going in there with absolutely nothing, and I can tell you this, we're going to spring a surprise.
Fadiel, that's where we're going to leave it. Lots of luck in the upcoming elections. I hope to talk with you soon so that you can tell me that you were able to save the old age home or the pensioners from being evicted from the old age home. Please, inshallah, let's hope.
No pressure, you say, no pressure.
And we will be talking to you soon, even if it's post the elections. So we will hold you to account. But thank you indeed.
We don't win every fight. We don't win every fight. But I can promise you we'll give it our best. That I can promise you.
There you go. Okay. Walaikum salam. Fadiel Adams, saying it like it is, shooting from the hip. He is the president of the National Coloured Congress, talking about an old age home going on auction today in Ruiterwacht in the Western Cape, and they are doing everything in their power to try and stop that old age home from being auctioned off. It is 9:31 News and Views on Salaamedia, and Siham Samai, attorney and director at the Women's Legal Centre, is standing by to talk to us about the Divorce Amendment Bill. So please stay with us.